Several decades ago, the BVI faced an uncertain future when a double taxation treaty between the BVI and the United States was canceled unilaterally by the US government. Facing an uncertain future, the vision of its leaders and ingenuity of its technocrats and friends, the BVI created the International Business Companies Act. However, it was not until the invasion of Panama, some years later by the same United States of America, that you were able to realize the true potential of the IBC Act, International Business Companies Act. What happened then is that the companies that were registered in Panama, which I think at that time might have been the biggest register of companies in the world, or one of the largest, the companies came from Panama and they came to the BVI. That catapulted the BVI into the international arena as a global player in international business. It was a game changer for the BVI. Today we look at the IBC Act. It has been amended a couple of times, recently quite substantially, and it's now the Business Companies Act. And we see that it's quite fitting that we are in the International Finance Center's office, BVI Finance, we now call him, that we should be here for an event such as this. The IBC Act, again, was a game changer, and today the Premier is about to come to us with another game changer. So I'd like to invite him to the podium to tell us what he has in store for us today. Thank you.
Every year for the last decade, more than 400,000 persons visited the BVI, and that number is growing. However, a majority of those visitors are finding it increasingly difficult to get here due to the inadequacy of air access, largely precipitated by the departure of American Eagle from its hub in Puerto Rico. This is compounded by the inadequate length of the runway at the T.B. Lethem International Airport. We know what the result has been: a severe reduction in flights from the BVI and into the BVI, increasing difficulty in accessing and leaving the BVI, both for ourselves and our visitors, and high ticket prices. Early last year, I pledged to the people of this territory that within my tenure and the next electoral cycle, my government will solve the problem of air access to and from the British Virgin Islands. While we continue to work tirelessly on the extension of the airport, of the runway, I also pledge to provide for direct flights to and from the United States mainland from the Terence B. Lethem International Airport. Today, it is my special pleasure to announce that we have made good on that promise of direct flights to and from the United States mainland by partnering with BVI Airways to have direct flights between the Terence B. Lethem International Airport and the Miami International Airport. Direct flights between Miami and BVI will commence in the fall of this year. The fall may sound like a long way away, but as our partners will explain shortly, there's a lot of preparation required to get those planes to fly full to and from Miami. This is a vital and significant development in our quest for better air access to the territory, but it is only a first step. The second step requires that we expand the T.B. Lethem International Airport runway to accommodate regular flights to and from the eastern seaboard of the United States. And while that project is going forward, we have provided for a 3-year agreement with the BVI Airways as an interim workable solution. I'll go further. Today's announcement is a game changer for our economy, both in tourism and financial services. For some time now, even before the cessation of American Eagle flights to the BVI, this territory has struggled with air accessibility issues. Visitors to our shores are spending more time to get here, often having to overnight in places in which they have no interest, and at times arriving without luggage, which is for them most frustrating. Needless to say, this is an unnecessary loss of revenue to the BVI economy and a recipe for disaster for our tourism industry. It should concern us all that our competitors have much better air access than we do, with direct flights to and from major international destinations. And it certainly does not help that sleeping giant Cuba has awakened from its long slumber. Since the cessation of flights by American Eagle to the BVI, our air access problems have gotten worse. The time loss and inconvenience faced by having to take ferries or smaller feeder flights to get to BVI has caused many visitors to choose other destinations in the Caribbean and Latin America, thereby undermining our competitiveness. These logistical dynamics have also made it very difficult to attract hotel development into the territory and to grow our tourism product that provides a livelihood for a majority of our people and their residents. Indeed, our ability to increase the value-added component of our financial services sector has also been constrained by air access. And our newly launched arbitration center is in jeopardy of being undermined due to the difficulties associated with getting to the BVI. The constant demand by citizens and residents that government continues to improve the services to the public, as well as provide additional services, means that we have to remain on the proverbial cutting edge of new revenue ideas without imposing an undue burden on our people. Notwithstanding, we must at all reasonable costs protect the revenue stream that we do have. If that means continuing with the hard work we have been doing in the financial services industry, then that is what we will do. If it means extending the runway at TB Lettsome International Airport, we are duty-bound to do so. And if it means positively addressing airlift on this occasion through a partnership with BVI Airways, then that is what we are doing. We all know that our ability for economic development in the BVI today is limited by our ability to participate in the global marketplace through the quick and expeditious movement of people to and from the Virgin Islands. Today's signing is indicative of my government's resolve to do all that we can to maintain and improve our economy for the benefit of present and future generations of BVI landers and residents. The McKinsey report that was commissioned in 2014 by my government to investigate the required steps that we need to be taken by the BVI to remain competitive and relevant into the future was presented to the people of the Virgin Islands in 2015. In that report, air access was noted as a key and vital component to the successful future of the BVI. I'm glad that we are able today to implement yet another of those excellent recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, part of our long-term strategy has always been careful, responsible inward investment into the BVI. Our pursuit of this strategy has always highlighted the severe restrictions that quick and easy access to the territory poses to the willingness of foreign investors to come to the BVI. If we continue to leave the matter of air access unsolved, we will unduly and unnecessarily threaten the economic pillars upon which we depend for our survival. It is fundamentally critical to our continued economic viability and important to our long-term economic development strategy that we overcome the issue of air access as a matter of highest priority. Direct access to us then means that we should be able to get to a major international hub from which direct flights from major metropolitan centers around the world can connect to flights that directly fly to and from the British Virgin Islands. As a result, we expect consequential infrastructural development in the tourism sector, higher participation of BVI businesses in activity outside of the BVI, and ultimately more employment opportunities for our people. The partnership with BVI Airways is meant to fill the immediate need to solve our air access issues and constitutes another investment by my government in the continued development of the BVI economy and its people. Our investment in this venture will be about $7 million over a 3-year period, with the expectation that this will be recouped once the venture is successful, as we fully expect it to be. It is an investment being made with a clear understanding that without relatively easy and reliable air access to and from the British Virgin Islands, we will struggle to provide for the traveling needs of our people, to bring our visitors to the territory, and to remain competitive in the main economic sectors of tourism and financial services. Think back with me to those years when our flag that graced the skies of the Caribbean, from as far south as Dominica to as far north as the Dominican Republic, as Air BVI traversed to and from these locations. Today I'm proud to be part of a venture where our flag would again ply the airways, this time as far north as the United States of America. I want to thank Mr. Lester Hammond, Mr. Bruce Bradley, and the other members of the BVI Airways team for being instrumental and persistent, and for working with us assiduously to make direct air access from Miami to the BVI a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reason to let our hearts fill with pride as we participate in this game-changing venture that will pave the way for even greater things to come in air access to the BVI. It is my honor and distinct privilege today to present this great undertaking to you, the people of the BVI, on whose behalf my government continues its hard and tireless work. Thank you.
What do you think of that? That's a big deal? I wouldn't want to say what Mr. Biden said, but I think it's close to that. We'll now, Russell, the chairman of the Tourist Board, to say a few remarks to us.
As a habit, as chairman of the BVI Tourist Board, I rarely speak on any matter of tourism after the Premier. After all, when he speaks, our role at the board is to move to implementation. If Honorable Stout, H.L. Stout that is, was here today, he would undoubtedly declare this an auspicious occasion. And it is indeed for our territory. In today's fiercely competitive global marketplace, consistent, reliable, and competitive air access is the lifeblood of any modern economy. Whether it's London trying to remain the dominant business and financial center of Europe, Dubai trying to maintain its posture as a crossroads to Asia, or St. Vincent with their new airport trying to hitch their economy to the global tourism market. For the BVI, with an economy dominated by tourism and financial services, two very competitive sectors, it is absolutely critical for the territory's continued success that this venture to establish direct flights to North America is successful. Today's announcement is more than about direct flights to Miami. It is actually a statement about the future of the BVI and our collective well-being. It's about the BVI stepping up to the plate and making sure that the quality of life that we become accustomed to is sustainable. Simply put, it's about the territory being globally competitive. It's about access to the marketplace, whether you're in tourism, financial services, real estate, or whether you operate a car rental, a taxi, a restaurant, a villa, or an inn, as in the case of my good friend Kito Reimer, who all have seen he's torn down his place and he's rebuilding it. It spells hope for young entrepreneurs who for the first time might be planning to enter the growing tourism sector, but had doubts about accessing the market. When one look at our major competitors regionally, both in tourism and financial services, all of them, Bermuda, Cayman, the Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and Grenada, etc., have all enjoyed long and successful direct access to North America and beyond. You can no longer be a global player, or for that matter, taken seriously, if you cannot connect seamlessly to the global marketplace. It is the same whether you're a small business or the national economy, such as the BVI. So what will this connection to Miami mean in a very practical way for the BVI and its economy? It will enhance the ease of getting here to use a commercial court, a court that is globally recognized and respected. It will remove one of the single largest challenges to establishing the BVI as an arbitration center. Now when the Premier approaches investors and he's asking them about investing in the BVI, and they respond to him, well, how are we going to get our visitors here? He will no longer have to say, we are looking at the matter. As a tourism destination, we will be for the first time taking charge of our future in a collective way and building on our objectives of the Tourist Board and the government of building a year-round tourism destination. We will be able to tap into new markets, expanding our annual calendar of events and growing new ones, and growing such events as Lobster Fest, doing more in sports tourism. We will also have an airline that for the first time we'll be able to partner with for our summer and fall packages. Additionally, this flight also has the potential to create completely new business opportunities. One such area of potential could be in sourcing new markets for our fish, for commercial and specialty markets. Think for a moment, what prevents Anegada lobsters from being on menus in New York, London, Hong Kong, or Miami? I'll tell you, it's a direct access. From Miami, if I may say so, the world will be our oyster. Making this initiative a success will require all of us working together, both the public and private sectors. The Premier and his government must be commended for taking a bold step into the future. Now it's our collective responsibility to step up to the plate and make it a success. At the BVI Tourist Board, we are excited about this new promise that this venture will afford to the destination to deepen our tourism business. In closing, I want to commend Bruce and his team for partnering with the BVI in this initiative. The negotiations, I must say, were long, they were difficult, and at times I know you all wondered whether or not we were ever going to get to this point. The Premier, to his continued credit, persevered. As you see, perseverance is in our DNA. At a personal level, in closing, I look forward to the first flight landing at the TB Lettsome Airport and the Premier disembarking, followed by a long line of visitors. Thank you.
I'll now invite, before I do this, do we understand the significance of what's happening here? You'll be able to get on an airplane on Beef Island. And when you step off of that aircraft, 3.5 hours later, you're in Miami. Have we ever been able to do that? I guess you're speechless. I'll now invite BVI Airways to respond. I think, Bruce, you are on the schedule. Okay, but I think all of them are going to say something because they have a lot to say.
Great. Thank you, Neil. Good morning, everyone. Very pleased to be here today for this very exciting announcement and for our new partnership with the BVI government. As the Premier said, it's been a long time in the making, and we are incredibly excited with the leadership that's been provided and the working relationship that we've had with the Premier, in particular with Secretary Neil Smith, with Russell Harrigan, and it's a big day for the BVI government and for tourism, we hope. We are going to be offering, with the launch of this, the airline will be up and running in approximately 9 months, and we're excited to offer a competitive, convenient, and luxurious alternative to what's there today. We think this will help enormously in fueling high-end tourism. We have seen this with many of the other neighboring governments that have made a big investment in airlift and the impact that it's had in a very short period of time. So again, very excited. I want to introduce my partners, Scott Weissman and Jerry Willoughby, and with their better voice, I'll let them get into the details of this. So thank you very much.
It's a big step. It's a big step for airlift and a big step here. First, everyone, thank you all. We're delighted to be here. When we first made our investment in BVI Airways almost 1.5 years ago, this was always part of the idea. The idea was to leverage our turboprop business with the regional jet business to bring direct service into Beef Island. It has taken us a lot longer as things seem to take here, But in general, we're delighted that we're finally here. We want to thank the Premier for his tireless effort, and Neil Smith in particular for putting up with us as we sort of ground through the minutia of getting to this particular point. I know a couple of people have asked us, well, why can't we start flying tomorrow? And we probably can. The regulators of the United Kingdom would be upset with us, but we can start flying. This process requires us to get approvals in London and approvals in Washington. So the primary issue for us in terms of the timing and why it takes so long is regulatory approvals and marketing. Obviously, we don't want to fly airplanes empty. Obviously, we want to make sure the airline is profitable. We want to return capital back to the government. We want to make sure we have the ability to provide the best service possible for the most rational price. Some people have asked, is this going to be cheaper than what's available now? The answer is yes, it has to be. And one correction, it's a 2.5-hour flight, not a 3.5-hour flight. So it's dramatically easier. Our general thought process is we're going to start with 3 flights on a weekly basis, and as demand builds, which we are highly confident it will, we expect to go to at least 1 flight a day, and in the high season, probably 2 to 3 flights a day. It's a very compelling story to both the investing community as well as to the traveling world. It's always been a hard place to come to, always been a very difficult place to reach, and that has created an allure to the island. By the same time, it has created a barrier to entry. We think that having direct service on a very luxurious plane with a first-class cabin and with a gourmet meal will transform the travel experience. I'd like to introduce my partner, Jerry Willoughby. Jerry has 35 years in the aviation industry, starting first as a general in the United States Air Force, heading over to Delta, where he flew large aircraft, and then doing a cargo startup. We are delighted that we have not only the resources that are financial, marketing with Bruce, who understands how high-end properties work, but also someone who knows how to make airplanes fly. It is not an easy business. It requires all 3 skills to execute this very difficult type of airline. Jerry, I'd like you to come up and talk a little bit about the operation and sort of next steps in the BVI. Thank you.
Dr. Smith, an honored guest, that's certainly our privilege and honor to be in front of you today to add our voice to what we think is a real game changer for the various sectors, not only tourism, financial services, and just every day that islanders that want to get back and forth to the U.S. mainland on a seamless and painless, I might add, way. I actually live on the West Coast, and like I said, it takes me 2 days to get here. Well, we'll change that, where people from the West Coast will be able to get here in 1 day. We'll time our departures out of Miami so that we get the flow not only from the Northeast Corridor sector, but from the West Coast, which would be Los Angeles, California, San Francisco, and even Seattle to connect into our flights. So it'll be an afternoon flight coming out of the U.S. mainland, arriving here, and then morning flights out of here to connect on into destinations, not only in the U.S. mainland, but the Caribbean, other parts of the Caribbean, Central South America, and even on to Europe. We'll work very carefully with some of our international partners to have a seamless interline agreements so that your bags can be checked through, so it'll be a lot less hassle than you've had before. Just a moment to talk about our aircraft. It's a regional RJ-85. We'll have it configured in an 86-seat configuration, a very, very nice high-end first-class section, and a nice leather-colored seats in the coach section. And like I said, it's about a 2.5 hour, 40-minute, depending on the winds, from going back and forth. So we think it will be an enjoyable flight, much more enjoyable than you've had to endure going through various other places to get back and forth. So with that, we will work very diligently with both our U.S. regulators and our regulators in London. In fact, Scott Weissman and I are traveling next week to not begin that process, but meet face-to-face with our government regulators, which are ASSI. They've committed to us to work diligently so that we will meet the fall startup date. We don't anticipate any problems with that, although there's an awful lot of work to do on our part. We're anxious during this process of the next 9 months to meet with many of you, particularly in the tourism industry and the financial services, to see how we can cooperate and work together to ensure the success of this operation. Once again, a game changer for us all. Thank you for coming today, and we look forward to meeting all of you.
Are we becoming convinced? Yeah. You know, I was just corrected by a sailor, Scott. Yes, about the time to fly to Miami. Yes, you are correct. And I guess even for me, it's a bit shocking to be able to do that distance in that short a bit of time. It usually takes us a whole morning to get to Miami. And I think that the whole day for you also? Yeah. So, you know, it's a big deal. For me, I'm quite interested in it because of the ability to go to the United States and get back in the same day, which is really a good thing for us in the BVI, for the business community especially. But at this point, I'd like to invite Julian up to the podium to make some remarks. He's the director of BVI Finance.
Honorable Premier, other ministers of government and members of the House of Assembly, industry partners, colleagues, good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you to BVI Finance's fairly new offices, if you haven't been before. I think notwithstanding the significant news for tourism, I think this is a fitting place for this event to be held. The issue of air access into the territory and the impact it has on tourism is easy to see. The connection can easily be made between access into the country and heads in the beds, which is a term I learned while serving under the good chairman here on the tourist board, or heads in the berths, as it may apply to us. Ease of access, efficient connections, seamless transfers are all good for tourism business. The reality, though, is that access into and out of the BVI is equally critical for the other side of our economy, financial services. As we all know, the BVI is home to many of the world's major financial services players. We are home to a melting pot of professionals from every corner of the globe. Professionals who travel frequently for business, to reconnect with family and friends, and to explore other interests. Professionals whose time is as valuable to them as the money in their bank accounts. Any development that makes it easy to travel to and from the BVI will have significant value to anyone who calls the BVI home. The Premier mentioned in his remarks the various key initiatives from the McKinsey report that the government is working steadfast to implement. A key one of those recommendations deals with the issue of added value services and further diversification of our financial services industry. These are exciting times for financial services. We are reinventing key sectors and exploring key frontiers, new products, new markets, and a new vision. We are working to position the BVI to be more competitive globally and to take an even bigger bite of the proverbial pie. BVI Finance, for example, has recently launched a comprehensive review of the insurance sector with an end goal of repositioning this sector for growth. A key part of this growth will have to involve attracting new major players in the captive insurance world to operate from our shores. A similar exercise is taking place in the mutual fund sector. Attracting business to the BVI means creating an environment that is friendly for business. Any company seriously considering doing business in the BVI will thoroughly evaluate the ease and practicality of doing business from within our shores. They will consider many things, including the ease of getting to and from the BVI. Investors into our economy have to be able to get in and get out and get back in again, quickly and efficiently. The Premier mentioned the newly established Arbitration Center, the success of which is based largely in part in users of the center being able to get to the BVI quickly and easily. The same rings true for our commercial court, as was mentioned earlier. We are also courting new markets, Latin America, for example. As we build relationships in that part of the world, it becomes even more critical to have quick and efficient access into the territory from places like Brazil. With the advent of this new service, a trip from Sao Paulo to BVI would be possible with one connection. Sao Paulo, Miami, Beef Island. That is truly fantastic news. The impact that this new service will have on the potential growth of our financial services industry cannot be understated. It is a giant step in the right direction that we are confident will snowball into even greater direct access into the BVI in the coming years. So, Honorable Premier, on behalf of BVI Finance, and I hope I can speak for the wider financial services industry, I congratulate you and all the others on your team who are undoubtedly involved in making this a reality. I also congratulate the principals of BVI Ways on this new venture. From a financial services perspective, I could not agree more that it is indeed a game changer. It will open doors that we feared had been shut. It will also speak even more confidently about the BVI's readiness to grow our industry and venture into new areas. This is a monumentous achievement for the BVI that I am confident will bear many fruit and will further cement our position as a leading financial services center. I thank you.
Thank you, Julian. We've come to the close of this event, actually. And like you said, it's a game changer. And I'd like to again thank the Premier for his leadership. And I'm going to be careful, Chief. I don't want to sound political, you know. But I think I could say this, that our ministers or leaders do a lot of things that we don't know about. Many long hours, many discussions, and I think we should be grateful for that because they don't say anything about it, but they really work tirelessly, and I really think that this is an opportune time, Premier, to thank yourself and your government for the work that you do, and not just your government, but the entire House of Assembly as well. To tell us what we're going to do. I think as well it is clear that we are on the move forward. And I'd like to also thank everybody in the civil service, in the government, in the country, and the stakeholders that are here for moving the BVI forward.